tardes, Portugal. Muy buenas a todos. Sean bienvenidos a una nueva entrevista internacional acá en Shufflinmedia. Les saluda Mayra Betancor. Continuamos con nuestro viajecito. We continue our journey through the Festival da Canção 2025. This time we have in front of us one of the interesting songs from this year. Duarte Appleton, also known as Do Nothing. Hello, Do. How you doing?
Hi, Omar. How are you? How's everyone? I hope you're good.
We are doing really well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. I think the first question is obvious. Where is your artist name come from? Do Nothing. Why is that?
Everyone asks me this question. I have one not forbidden answer, but I have one answer that I know is slightly a bit more. Oh. And then I have the most. I can give you both answers. I didn't give it on the last interview, and I kind of miss it saying it sometimes. So I had a band, which was half my songs, half my brothers, and then we separated. We each one went to our own project, and I was trying to find a name for myself as an artist, and everyone called me Du, which comes from Duarte, and I knew I wanted to do something with Du because I didn't want it to be my actual name. I think I kind of like the idea of having a bit of a persona. I think I'll always be me, but I like the idea of having a bit of a persona. And so I was going through a bunch of different names. At some point, I wanted to be Do 3 times, I guess, because of Alalas. And then a friend of mine called me, a very good friend. And he said, I have the perfect name for you, and it's Do Nothing. I was like, okay, fuck, that makes a lot. Sorry, I don't mind if it's bad. I don't think it's bad if I say.
Don't worry.
I don't curse too much, but sometimes in English it's easy to say fuck, not being an English speaker. Okay, and I said like fuck, that makes so much sense. And like the most deep thing about it is because as an artist, especially a small artist, you don't have anyone to give to things. Like you leave school or you're studying, and when you're studying or you have a boss, there's always someone that needs that something that you need to do by someday. And when you're alone and you have to manage it yourself, it's easy to procrastinate and leave things to be because no one's really asking for anything. And so I've always struggled with my relaxed way of being. I love who I am, but sometimes being such a difficult world to be an artist, especially in Portugal, I think it's the same everywhere, but Portugal is particularly hard because the prices are going up and Portugal there's not a lot of money, and culture is not only starting to be a thing, but we're starting to appreciate it a bit more. And so I've always struggled with procrastinating and the feeling of procrastination. And sometimes you're not even procrastinating. You're doing everything that you have to do. But the fact that you can do more makes you feel a bit of procrastination. Is a bit of a play with that insecurity. And I think sometimes insecurities are good. It's better to embrace them and work on them rather than hide them and repress them. And then eventually they'll come back. And then the more forbidden answer would be fucking starting to write. So put the computer here. And I guess the other answer there makes it a bit more but for me it's special, even though it's very stupid. I was on the toilet when he called me, and and I don't know why I answered, but I answered because he's very, very good friends.
The best ideas come from the toilet almost always. So
a lot of good ideas come on the weirdest situations. And when he called me and he said Do Nothing, and I was sitting on the toilet, I was like, yeah, there's no way.
Perfect match.
Exactly. I cannot ignore this. At least I'll think about it. And then when I thought about it, I came to these conclusions, and it made a lot of sense. Actually, I have a question for you. Do you like the name Do Nothing? You can be honest.
I love it.
Sometimes there's people that love it. There's people that think that, usually older people think that it shows an unprofessional way of being. But I think as an artist, there's no such thing.
I don't think so. How you career or journey through the music came for you before this Festival da Canção?
About this song, that song Festival
da
Canção?
No, about your career itself before Festival da Canção.
Well, I'm a small artist, so it's a small artist reality. It's trying to break through, and that the whole building up and starting to understand how the industry works, when it's best to release a song, have the song ready, going through bad mixes and releasing songs with bad mixes, and then releasing songs with good mixes, and then finding another mixer that you like, and the whole creating. Do I want to sing in English? Because I've always sang in English, and now I'm starting to sing in Portuguese. Why do I want to sing in Portuguese? And then there's one or two big moments in my career. I played in Paredes de Cora, and there's always these good things. So it's always celebrating the victories and go after them. So understand that a few things can give you a bit of a notion where you're going, and that things are actually going well, even though you're not there yet, and you have to be able to live as a small artist until you make it big.
I cannot imagine when the RTP Portuguese television calls you. How received that calls you when they told you that you were one of the selected Festival da Canção participants?
Well, the person who called me was Beato, the Bruno who wrote the song. And I already had a relationship with him. Now I have a much deeper relationship. I like him very, very much. At the time I already did, but it was a bit more, slightly formal, not so much, but a little bit more than it is today. But it was not really a shock, but in a way. I was at the beach with some friends, and then he calls me. It was like, okay, you cannot say this to anyone, and I say everything to everyone. Straight away. I struggle sometimes to keep secrets. I have to put it in my head. Okay, this is not to tell anyone.
Okay.
And then he calls me. He was the one that was invited, that had that call with RTP. And then when he called me, it just made. It was a straight yes. I think I was like, okay, crazy. Thank you so much. I guess. Thank you so much for trusting me, and of course, let's do it.
What is the story? What is the story behind to his first song in Portuguese in your career? I guess sobre nos, our us, y Fedor.
My
Of
third song
us.
in Portuguese.
Hmm?
It's my third song in Portuguese, actually.
Third song in Portuguese. Above Us is translated in English, if I'm not wrong. What is the story behind what is the story behind this song?
The story has, I guess, the way you can look at the lyrics has two ways that you can look that are more obvious. One is more obvious than the other, which is it's about, I guess, a couple or a couple of friends, whatever, two people that are not in the best place in the relationship. They're not really open to talk about something's wrong, and they can understand it, and there's this kind of awkwardness between them, which creates a bit of a distance. And then the other way, which is how we see the world, and the song always takes you to the world is strange, and so am I. What's happening? Why is this like this? A lot of things are wrong, but the world is beautiful. And so I think the story of these two people is pretty much and definitely a way to take you to look into how the world is, which there's a lot of, we're missing communication. There's a lot of new things coming and that are necessary to address, and the whole racism, the wars, the xenophobia, transphobia, all of these things are necessary to address, even though for some people might be they don't like it, and I guess they're in the wrong. But the truth is, we need a place where it's safe to be yourself, and you can be the most yourself as long as it doesn't intrude into anyone else's reality. As long as whatever you do is good, everything is great, and we need this open space for everyone to be themselves and the most, and to understand the next one, and to take a bit of your ego aside and understand when the situation needs to be addressed in a different way. And I think that's the whole point. A bit how the Beatles have All You Need Is Love, and at the time with the French, I don't know how to say the word, but they're inside war. I think the message is more or less the same. We're all under the same roof. We're all the same. We all come from the same thing, but we're all super different, and all of our differences that create this bit of distance in between us. Those differences are exactly what makes us ourselves, and we need a safe space to be ourselves, and we need it. We need something. We need people that make sure that this happens. I'm not saying that I'm that person, but everyone can be a little bit that person, and I think it's a must in everyone, especially the new generation, to make it understand for the new kids, because everyone is going through their own struggles. Some people are discovering themselves, some people are not, and we need to make it a safe space for everyone to be able to navigate the world in their own minds safely.
Talking about navigate this journey of Festival da Cansao for an small artists, and we have some of them here in this year, can be really exciting or very exhausting. What is in your case? How are the preparations and the rehearsals are going for you?
Very, very exciting. Obviously, there's always a bit of nerves, and it's strange. It's a whole new world. And I've always been more of a, I guess, an indie artist, more of an old school type of presenting myself on stage with a guitar, with a band, and it's always about the music, how the whole concert is constructed. And in this case, it's very different. It's one song. I'm going alone. I won't have any musicians on stage. And how can I pass a message and have a good communication with whoever's watching, if they can get this message, if it touches them in a good way, hopefully always. And it's a journey. I'm loving working on it, and it's a super different experience, and I love to be out of my comfort zone. So I think it's being it's very cool.
As you told me, like you told, well, I'm going to put your brain into silence because already told me that you are really a really bit difficult person to keep secrets. So as far as you can tell, don't spoil us everything if you want. But what will be the main concert and the main things that you will put in the Festival da Cansao stage, at least for your performance in the first semi-final in the next February 22nd?
Okay, so considering what I've said about the song and the story and what the ideas were when Beato wrote the song, and obviously people will have different interpretations. The idea with the whole performance, and I have a person that I trust a lot that has had a tremendous career as a ballet dancer in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and as a choreographer and scenographer. And this person is working with us. The whole idea is to pass as much as we can the message of how we feel the song. Obviously, people will interpret it in different ways. So it's slightly a bit more contemporary, not very much, because this person understands that it's a pop world and it's Eurovision, and there's a lot of pop side to this. And this person is a bit more contemporary and a bit off on that world. But I think he understood the assignment, so he brought a little bit of his universe with me, and his work was understanding my way of being and my manners on how will I do this and pass the message through myself, not through his ideas, but how can we pass this message of unity, and we need to be together as people, because in the end, there's people in the government that takes care of the real business, but it's us as povo, how do you say that in English? As the people. It's us as the people that define what the country needs and what we want. And so the idea is to bring a bit of that unity and have some little thing, some object that I can interact that brings a little bit of that hope, of that peace, something in white, something that will pass that message of we need a little bit of peace and a safe space for everyone.
And compares all the things in one stage in just 3 minutes.
Yeah, go a little bit from the dark to the white and hopeful message. But sure, but the darkness is always there. And
It's always there. Your semi-final, just your semi-final is really huge, with names like Blue Eye, Capital de Bulgaria, Marco Rodriguez came third in 28, Margarita Capero, Peculiar, Rita Santiago. What are your thoughts about all the artists that you are being that will be your teammates in this competition this year? How is just talk to them, because I cannot
I
imagine that.
think I admire all of them, and I guess at the day, and the rehearsals will be the rehearsals at the place where the Festival de Canção, where the semifinals is going to happen, will be next week. I think then will be able to get to know them a little bit better. But I think I admire them in any way that I admire an artist, in this case a bit more close, because they're doing their own thing and they came to present themselves as who they are, or sometimes to interpret who someone else who your idea with someone else, what they want to pass, and I think that's beautiful, and it's very strong, and things all of the musics are very different, and let's see what happens. Yeah, I think everyone has the same chance.
And how you receive all the? I think your song is at least from the semifinal is one of the well received songs, well receptioned.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about this kind of feedback, not only from Portugal but also from other countries in Europe?
The feedback so far has been great, has been very good, and it gives a boost of confidence, obviously, because with this, especially, I think this slight nerves is, I don't think nerves is the right word, but I think you can understand what I mean.
Yeah.
There's always this slight anxiety of, fuck, how is it going to be, how will people react, what will happen, because there's a lot of attention now, and I've never had this much attention before. But it's different from example if my music exploded and all of a sudden I have this big exposure that I'm not used to.
Hmm.
I think there's a bit more pressure on this because I'm getting all of this attention now, but it doesn't mean that it will be there after. So it's something that can mark a lot my career and my next steps, and it can be good, can be bad, and so I have to work considering that.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of pressure, but it's a good pressure. I think it's good to be under pressure and to be able to deal with things under pressure is the best demonstration of who you are,
Hmm.
and it's being very exciting, and it's good to work on myself as a person and on myself as an artist and explore different ways of performing, for example, and
Hmm.
see how I deal with it and how what's comfortable, what's uncomfortable.
Totally. Now with Eurovision, what is your if you watch the contest, of course, what is the story? What is your story with the Eurovision Song Contest? What are your first memories from watching the contest? And if you want, of course, what are your favorite songs from the Eurovision from Portugal and also from another countries?
I think there's one that, as any Portuguese, I think it's impossible to forget or to ignore, which is Salvador Sobral and Luísa Sobral.
Hmm.
What they did, the song itself is amazing. What's happening with Salvador at the time is unreal, and it's super happy that everything went accordingly good, everything went great. But the whole emotion behind it, everything that's going on, the way they pass their message, the lyrics, the way he interprets the whole chaos that he might be able to go, he might not be able to go. Apparently, I've heard, I'm not sure if it's true, he didn't even rehearse. It was always Luisa the one that was rehearsing for the
Hmm.
actual act,
Yes, totally.
because it wasn't sure that he would be able to perform. And then at the time he came and he performed, and it was amazing, and he was able to do with so little so much, and obviously a win for Portugal. So that will never be.
What did you do and how you reacted when Salvador won?
It was a big thing because I think Festival da Canção, particularly Festival da Canção, so the Portuguese version, had his ups and downs, had his importance,
Yeah.
cultural importance in Portugal, and then I guess the industry starts to grow, and it grows a bit out of Festival da Canção, and there's this time where it starts to turn around, and I think Salvador came to mark that transition into how much importance can we give as a cultural as a culture in Portugal, how much impact will Festival da Canção have? And I think Salvador made a big difference in what Eurovision means to Portugal, and how much attention does it have from the regular person that's watching at home.
Mhm.
And I think he was very important to give space, and at least make it more of a talk when it's happening.
Yeah. And you have any favorite song from another countries besides Portugal?
Um, I'm not sure if I can give. I know Franz Gall had one that I loved,
Wow, that's a really good reference.
but I know this because I had a dinner with my guitarist the other day with his family, and we
Uh
were
huh.
talking about Festival da Canção. I hadn't seen them since the invitation, and they were talking to me, and they were explaining a little bit because they're older, so they got the first phase of Festival da Canção and when it had a big impact in Portugal, and so
Yeah.
they knew the stories. And his auntie that was having dinner with us, that lives now in Portugal, she lived in Swiss, so she speaks French, and she was paying attention. So she was telling me all about this, and I'm not that much informed, but she gave me a bit of good information that made me want to look into it.
That's really nice. That's really so nice. Finally, besides all that cool happens in Festival de Cancer participation, what will be your future plans for your year, for this year at least?
Future plans is an album in Portuguese, maybe one interlude that is half Portuguese, half English. Kind of trying to represent the initial dream of traveling around the world, being a big artist, which I think it's always a goal for everyone that's an artist. I guess everyone wants the world, and obviously I want the world as well. I've wanted more. I think I want it in a more peaceful way, as in the less I want it. But I think it's good not to forget ambitions, even so if sometimes they're a bit seemingly impossible. But the idea is to have an album. The album is it's going to be a bit more different, a bit more 80s funky, but with an 80s aesthetic, with those kind of like two, you know, the particular that he did in the 80s. But yeah, doing and then play as much as I can, meeting as much people as I can, record, doing as many features as I can, travel as much as I can, sing in other languages. But that's a bit more future right now. I'm focused on Eurovision, well, Festival da Canção, ideally Eurovision after, and the album, which is we're starting to go into the last works, more or less.
Besides the Eurovision stage, what would it be your dream destination, your dream stage for perform? At least, what is your
dream? I have two, which is this is always big dreams. I think first and most important, and then one comes with the other, is Glastonbury main stage, obviously. I mean, headline of Glastonbury, I think it's the most, as any festival, and I think for me, music, where I love and where I watch most music is at festivals. And Portugal has a big culture in festivals. There's so many festivals in the summer, which is great, and I love the whole ambience. The fact that some people camp, some people go, some festivals are in the city, so you can go back to your home. So I guess headliner at Glastonbury is the big dream. And then after is playing at Benfica Stadium, Estádio da Luz, because I remember when I was a kid. I'm from Benfica, and I grew up in a family that's very like this with Benfica. Benfica is the thing. And even a brother of my granddad, at some point he was vice president for Benfica, something like this. I don't pay that much attention, but I love football at the same time. And I remember when I was a kid, there was going to be a concert in Sporting Stadium, which is a rival in Lisbon. And I was like, fuck, if I already played. And I was like, fuck, if I was a musician, I'd love to play at Benfica, at Estádio da Luz. And then my brother told me they don't have concerts at Estádio da Luz at the time. And I said, okay, then I'll be the first. I won't be the first anymore, but
yes,
it's the ultimate goal, as I've made it. If I'm playing at a stadium, it means things are good.
They will be awesome. With Dalus is really like enormous. Duarte, thank you so much for being with us today, and I wish you the best of luck for your Festival de Canção journey, at least in your semifinal. You go to close this interview in Spanish. Muchísimas gracias a tu Nothin, a Duarte por estar con nosotros en este ratito ya en estos días finales antes de su actuación en la primera semifinal el día 22 de febrero. Si les gustó la entrevista, denle al botón de suscribirse, al botón de like, no le cuesta nada, por supuesto, síganos en redes sociales para más contenido. Somos Shufflin Media en todas. Ha sido Mayra Betancor. Muy obrigado. Nos vemos en la siguiente.
Gracias.